In the heart of Obinogu village, where the evening breeze carried the sweet scent of roasted corn and the laughter of children echoed between mud huts, lived a woman whose beauty was said to rival the sunrise itself. Her name was Lomi, a tall, graceful, and stunning in a way that made even married men forget the paths to their homes. When Lomi walked through the dusty village road, wrapped in her colorful wrapper and matching head tie, beads swaying around her neck and wrist, even the market women paused mid-haggle just to stare. Her skin glowed like polished bronze under the sun, and her smile, oh, that smile, was enough to make strong men stammer. The men of Obinogu adored her. If Lomi lifted a pot, 3 men would rush to help. If she fetched water, boys from nearby compounds would fight to carry her calabash. And whenever she passed the village square, men would scramble to offer her gifts, baskets of mangoes, roasted groundnuts, red plantains, and sometimes a bottle of sweet palm wine just for a chance to talk to her. But Lomi was no fool. She enjoyed the attention, yes, but she had a rule: fine words and fruits do not build a fine life. Lomi's heart only bent toward wealth. She dreamed of fine wrappers from Onitsha market, coral beads from Benin, and golden earrings that jingled like bells. She wanted comfort, the life where she would never have to fetch water or pound yam. Then came Metuna. Metuna was not the most handsome man in the village, but he had something that made him stand out: success. He was a master palm wine tapper, famous beyond Obinogu. During every festival, every wedding, and every chieftaincy title ceremony, it was Metuna's sweet palm wine that filled the gourds of guests. He had strong arms, a booming voice, and a laugh that could be heard across the stream. People respected him because he worked hard, and he had money, plenty of it. He owned several palm trees across 3 villages and had young men working for him. Metuna had admired Lomi for years from afar, but unlike other men, he didn't chase her with mere flattery. He began by sending her palm wine so sweet that it tasted like honey. Then he started bringing gifts, fine wrappers, anklets, perfume from the city, and even a mirror from a trader who once visited Lagos. At first, Lomi laughed at his efforts. A palm wine tapper, she told her friends. Let him climb his trees and leave me alone. But Metuna was persistent. He visited her parents respectfully, helped them repair their leaking roof, and even bought her mother a new cooking pot. Slowly, Lomi began to see him differently. And one evening, as the sun melted into the horizon and painted the sky orange, Metuna came to her house with a calabash of palm wine and a goat as a gift. He looked into her eyes and said softly, "Lomi, I may not be a chief, but with me, you will never lack joy." Something in his tone touched her. For the first time, she smiled and offered him a seat. That evening, as they laughed and talked, Lomi's heart melted like palm oil over fire. Before long, love bloomed between them. Their marriage became the talk of the village. People sang, "Lomi the beautiful has married Metuna the rich." Their wedding feast lasted 2 days, and the drums beat until the moon grew tired. Life became sweet for Lomi. She wore new clothes every week, ate meat whenever she wished, and sat like a queen in her compound while Metuna's boys did the hard work. Every morning, Metuna would kiss her cheek and go to his palm trees, returning by afternoon with calabashes full of frothy white wine. They were happy. They laughed often. Their compound was filled with the smell of good food and the sound of joy. Until that fateful morning. The sky was still pale when Metuna left for his usual routine. Lami had begged him to rest that day. "Let your boys do it," she had said, tying her wrapper. "You've worked enough. Stay with me today." But Metuna only smiled. "My wine must flow, Lami. That is how we eat." He kissed her forehead and walked off with his climbing rope and calabash. No one knows exactly what happened. Some say the rope snapped. Others said a strong wind shook the palm tree. But what everyone agreed on was this: Metuna fell. He fell hard. By the time they carried him home, his legs were broken and twisted like dry sticks. He screamed in pain, And Lomi, seeing her strong husband helpless, cried until her voice cracked. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Metuna could no longer climb trees. His business began to crumble. The boys who worked for him left, one after the other. His savings dried up, and soon, the gifts stopped coming. At first, Lami tried to care for him. She cooked his meals, helped him sit under the mango tree, and fanned him during the hot afternoons. But as time went on, her patience began to fade. The woman who once glowed with happiness now looked frustrated. She missed her fine clothes, her attention, her life of ease. When her friends came visiting and whispered about new traders in the next village, rich traders, her heart ached. Metuna noticed her change. Lami, he said one night, his voice weak, things will be better again. I just need time. But Lami didn't reply. She only sighed, her eyes filled with silent resentment. Then one evening, as the crickets sang and the moon rose high, Lami packed her clothes, her wrappers, her jewelry, everything she owned, and quietly slipped out of the house. She didn't look back. Metuna woke up the next morning to find her side of the mat empty. The cooking pot was cold. Her laughter was gone. Only silence filled the compound. Outside, the villagers whispered. Lami has left him. Or, after all he did for her. Beauty without patience is a curse. Metuna's heart broke that day more than his legs ever could. He sat under the mango tree, staring at the road where she vanished, and tears rolled down his cheeks. But what neither Lami nor the villagers knew was that fate was not done with them yet. The days turned into weeks after Lami left Metuna, and though she tried to appear strong, her heart was far from peaceful. The road ahead looked bright in her imagination. She pictured herself living in comfort again, wearing fine wrappers, eating the best meals, and walking proudly through the village like before. She told herself she had made the right decision, that she deserved more than a man who could no longer provide. But deep down, a quiet guilt followed her everywhere. One hot afternoon, as Lomi walked along the narrow village path leading toward the market, her eyes caught sight of a man stepping down from a horse-drawn cart. He was tall, broad-chested, and wore a flowing white kaftan with cowries on his cap. His slippers alone looked like they had come from the city. The man's name, as she later learned, was Okono. He was a stranger in Obinago, but everyone had already heard about him, the wealthy trader from the next town who dealt in palm oil, kola nuts, and goats. He spoke softly and carried himself with authority, and wherever he went, people greeted him with respect. When Okono saw Lomi that day, he stopped in his tracks. Beautiful one, he called out with a charming smile, where does the sun go to rest when your beauty shines in this village? Lomi blushed shyly. She hadn't been complimented like that in a while. They talked for a while by the roadside, and before they parted, Okono pressed a small wrapped gift into her palm, a pair of golden earrings. From that day, he never stopped pursuing her. Every market day, Lomi returned home with gifts, fine cloth, perfumes, meat, and even coins of silver. He sent her letters through his servants, and his words were always sweet. You deserve comfort, he wrote. You were born to be adored. Lomi's heart began to melt again. Her past started to fade, replaced by excitement for a new life. She convinced herself that maybe this was her destiny, that the gods had finally rewarded her for choosing better. So, when Okono asked her to move into his big compound, she didn't think twice. She arrived there one evening, dressed in her finest wrapper, and was welcomed with a feast. The compound was indeed grand, walls made of smooth clay, a big courtyard, goats tied near the fence, and servants running about. Lomi's eyes sparkled as she imagined the life ahead. But her joy didn't last long. The first week was peaceful, but soon the mask fell from Okono's face. He began shouting over small things, the food not salty enough, the water too cold, the mat not straight. He would wake up in the morning and start quarreling before the cocks crowed. His temper was like fire, his voice thundered through the compound, and when he got angry, he smashed plates, kicked stools, and broke calabashes. One night, he threw her wrapper into the fire because he claimed she smiled too long at a visiting neighbor. Lomi's heart began to tremble every time she heard his footsteps. The gifts and luxury she once desired now felt like chains around her. Okono forbade her from visiting anyone. "No one must see you," he said sternly. "The world must not have what is mine." He kept the gate locked, and the servants feared him too much to help her. Lomi started crying every day. She would sit by the window at night, staring into the darkness, whispering, "O gods of the land, what have I done? If I ever escape from this man, I will never chase riches again. I just want peace. I just want my husband back." Her once bright eyes grew dull, her laughter disappeared, and her heart filled with regret. Then, one fateful night, it seemed the gods heard her cry. Okono came home drunk after a feast in the next village. He staggered into the room, muttered a few words, and collapsed on the mat, snoring loudly. The whole house was silent except for the croaking of frogs outside. Lami sat there watching him for a long time, her heart racing. Then she whispered, "This is my chance." With trembling hands, she picked up her small bag and began packing just a few clothes, her old wrapper, and a little money she had secretly saved. Her heart pounded as she crept toward the door, afraid he might wake up. When she reached the gate, she looked back once, at the man she thought would give her happiness, now lying there with his face twisted in drunken sleep. Then she ran. She ran barefoot through the night, her wrapper brushing against the tall grass, her breath sharp and quick. The moonlight guided her path as she crossed the stream, climbed the small hill, and followed the road that led back to Obinogo. Her feet bled, but she didn't stop. She ran until she saw a familiar hut in the distance, the one she once called home. Tears filled her eyes. She ran to the wooden door and began knocking frantically. "Metuna! Metuna! Please open the door." Inside, a weak voice replied. Moments later, the door creaked open, revealing Metuna, thinner now, his beard grown, his legs still wrapped in white cloth. His eyes widened when he saw her kneeling there, her hair untidy, her face wet with tears. "Lomi," he whispered. "Is this truly you?" She broke down crying. "My husband, forgive me. I was blind. I let pride destroy our happiness. Please, let me come home." Metuna stood in silence for a moment, his heart torn between pain and love. Then slowly, he stepped forward and lifted her to her feet. "Come inside, Lomi," he said softly. "This is your home." He hugged her tightly, and for the first time in months, Lomi felt peace. From that day, Lomi changed completely. She became the wife everyone admired, humble, caring, and hardworking. She cleaned the compound, cooked with joy, and helped Metuna with everything he needed. And slowly, the gods smiled on them again. Metuna's legs began to heal. He started walking with a stick, then without one. He returned to the palm trees, this time with his wife by his side. Lomi carried his calabash, wiped his sweat, and helped him gather the wine. The villagers were shocked. Is that not Lomi? The one who left him? Why did he even accept her back? A cheating wife. No wa'o. Within months, Metuna's business grew again. With the little savings they had, they opened a large palm wine shop at the center of Obinogo village. Lomi ran the shop gracefully, serving customers with smiles and respect. Their name spread across neighboring villages again, but this time, not because of Lomi's beauty, but because her husband accepted her back. Months rolled by peacefully in Obinogo. The air around Metuna's compound smelled of palm wine and roasted yam, laughter returned to the yard, and the once silent nights now echoed with music and joy. Lami had transformed completely, no longer the proud, self-centered woman she once was, but a humble and hardworking wife whose presence lit up their home. From sunrise till evening, she could be seen helping in their new palm wine shop at the village square. Her voice carried warmth as she greeted customers. "Good afternoon, Uncle Chuka. Will you have the sweet one or the fresh tap?" Men still admired her beauty, but this time, there was something deeper in their eyes, respect. Everyone in the village spoke about how the gods had softened her heart. Even Metuna's old mother, who once cursed her name, now smiled whenever she saw her. "This Lomi has become my daughter indeed," she would say. "See how she cares for my son." Life was good again. But as peace returned to their lives, destiny was still watching. But peace, as the elders say, is like a clay pot, strong when handled with care, but easily cracked when the past decides to knock. The shadow of the past. It began on a market day. The sun was high, and the village square was filled with traders shouting prices and customers haggling. Lami was busy arranging gourds of palm wine when she noticed something strange, a group of men on horseback riding slowly toward the market. The sight was unusual. Few men rode horses in Obinago, and their clothes looked expensive, their faces stern. The villagers stopped and whispered among themselves. At the center of the group was a man dressed in flowing red robes, his eyes hidden beneath a wide hat. His very presence sent a chill through the air. When they reached the palm wine store, the man at the center dismounted and pulled off his hat. Lomi's heart nearly stopped. It was Okono. His eyes burned with anger, his once smooth face now hardened like stone. His lips twisted into a cold smile as he looked at her. "So," he said slowly, "this is where you run to." Lomi froze, her knees weak. The calabash in her hand slipped and shattered on the ground. People nearby turned to watch. Some whispered, "Isn't that the man from the next village?" Others murmured, "He looks dangerous." Metuna, who had just arrived with a new batch of palm wine, saw the scene from afar and hurried forward, his limp making him move awkwardly. "Good day, sir," he said calmly. "How may we help you?" Okonkwo's eyes flickered toward him. "You must be the cripple she ran back to," he said with a mocking tone. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lami's face burned with shame. Metuna's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice even. "That woman is my wife," he replied. "If you have anything to say, speak with respect." Okonkwo laughed, a cruel, loud laugh that echoed through the market. "Respect? Do you know what your wife did? She ran from my house like a thief in the night. She took my money, my gold earrings, and left without a word." Lomi's heart sank. "That's a lie," she cried. "I took nothing from you. I left because I was suffering. You treated me like a prisoner." Okonkwo turned to the villagers who had gathered to watch. "Ask her," he shouted. "Ask her how she deceived me. I fed her, clothed her, made her a queen, and this is how she repays me." The villagers began to murmur. Some pitied Lomi, others doubted her. Metuna stepped in front of her protectively. "Enough," he said firmly. "If you came here to shame my wife, I will not allow it." Okonkwo sneered. "You think I came here just to talk? No. I came for what belongs to me. She will either return to me or repay what she owes. If not, I will make sure your business collapses." The crowd gasped. Lomi clutched Metuna's arm, trembling. "Please, my husband, don't let him take me," she whispered, her voice breaking. Metuna's eyes flashed with quiet strength. "She's not going anywhere," he said. Okonkwo's face darkened. "We'll see about that," he said, and mounted his horse. "You have until the next full moon to return what you stole, or I will return with men who will take it by force." He rode off, leaving behind a cloud of dust and silence. The market slowly came alive again, but the damage was done. Whispers followed Lomi wherever she went. Some people avoided her stall, others stared when she passed. That night, Lomi couldn't eat. She sat quietly beside the fire, tears streaming down her cheeks. I swear I didn't take anything, she sobbed. All I wanted was peace. Metuna held her hands gently. I know, he said softly. Let him come. The gods who healed me will fight for us. The full moon night. Days turned into weeks, and tension hung in the air like smoke. Every night, Metuna prayed to the ancestors for protection. Lami could hardly sleep. She would wake up at the slightest sound, fearing Okonko's men might come. Then came the full moon, bright, round, and haunting. As they sat outside their hut, they heard the sound of distant drums and horses approaching. Lomi's heart pounded. Metuna, she whispered, is coming. Metuna rose slowly and gripped his walking stick. Let him come, he said, his voice calm but fierce. Soon, Okonko appeared again, this time with 2 village guards and a scroll in his hand. He waved it in the air. By order of the Egui, he announced, I am here to reclaim what was taken from me. But before he could step closer, the village chief himself appeared from the shadows. He had been informed of the commotion and came to settle the matter personally. Okonko, the chief said sternly, we have heard enough. You accuse this woman, but where is your proof? Okonko looked taken aback. Proof? She ran away with my gold? Then show us the gold you lost, the chief interrupted. Did anyone see her take it? Did any of your servants testify? Okonko stammered. No, but... Then be silent, the chief ordered. He turned to Lomi. My daughter, is there truth in this man's words? Lomi fell to her knees. No, my king. I swear before the gods and ancestors, I took nothing. I only ran because I feared for my life. The chief studied her face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The gods protect the innocent, he said. Metuna's wife will not be taken. And you, Okonko, will leave this village at once before dawn. The villagers cheered. Okonko's face twisted with rage. You will regret this, he spat, glaring at Lomi. You think this is the end? You'll see what I can do. But as he turned to leave, his horse suddenly reared violently, throwing him to the ground. The villagers gasped. He groaned in pain, clutching his leg. The chief raised his staff and declared, the gods have spoken. Go back to your land and do not return. Okonko limped away that night, humiliated, never to set foot in Obinogo again. In the weeks that followed, peace returned once more. The villagers who had doubted Lomi began to admire her again, praising her patience and courage. Metuna's business flourished like never before. People said the gods rewarded them because they forgave and stood by each other through trials. Every evening, as the sun dipped low, Lomi would look at her husband and whisper, I lost everything once because I didn't know the value of love. But now, I know. You are my true riches. And Metuna would smile, squeezing her hand gently. The gods gave us a second chance, he would say. Let's leave it with gratitude. Peace finally returned to Obinogo village. The storms of the past had passed, the wounds had healed, and love, pure and true, reigned again in the house of Lomi and Metuna. Seasons came and went, and with each passing year, their bond grew stronger. Their once small compound expanded, laughter filled every corner, and the sound of little feet running around became the new music of their home. Yes, the gods blessed them with many children. Sons who grew up strong and hardworking like their father, and daughters who carried their mother's beauty but also her newfound humility. Together, the family became one of the most respected in the village. Metuna's palm wine business flourished beyond anyone's imagination. What began as a small stall by the market road turned into a great enterprise. He opened new branches in nearby villages, and Lomi managed the workers with kindness and wisdom. People often came to them for advice, young couples, newlyweds, even the elders. Everyone admired how they overcame shame and hardship to build a home filled with peace. In the evenings, when the moon shone softly over the palm trees, Lomi would sit beside Metuna under the old mango tree, the same spot where their story had once begun. She would smile and say, "My husband, I thank the gods for giving me a second chance. I once thought love was about riches, but now I know love is about peace, patience, and forgiveness." Metuna would nod gently, his eyes warm with affection. "You have learned well, my wife," he would reply. "And the gods who saw our tears have turned them into blessings." Their children grew up seeing the beauty of forgiveness. They learned that true strength does not lie in wealth or pride, but in the heart that forgives and stays humble. And so, Lomi and Metuna lived out their years surrounded by love, laughter, and the sweet smell of palm wine, a reminder that no matter how far one strays, the path home is never closed to those who truly repent. True love is not measured by wealth or beauty, but by patience and loyalty. A house built on pride will surely crumble, but one built on forgiveness will stand forever. Forgiveness brings peace. Metuna could have rejected Lomi, but his decision to forgive not only healed his home, it healed his heart. Never let pride destroy what love has built. Many chase riches and lose what truly matters: peace, family, and a pure heart. If you were Metuna, would you have accepted Lomi back after all she did? Is it always wise to forgive, or are there times when walking away is the better choice? And finally, do you believe the gods reward those who choose mercy over revenge? Think about it. Thank you so much for watching Delia Story Time, where every tale carries a lesson for the soul. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and follow us on all platforms for more inspiring and emotional African stories filled with love, lessons, and life. We remain Delia Story Time. Stay tuned, more stories are coming soon.